Welcome to J Portman Podcast Online today with Hatim Morsy. Hatim, thank you for joining us in that very special situation. We're all, like you can see in the background, working from home. I can see you're working from home. So thank you for making time and joining us. Why don't you take a sec and introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Hatim Morsy, also known as Hats to a lot of my friends. And I think that was the easiest name for my friends growing up who don't speak Arabic. Although for the Arabs, it was a bit strange too because they didn't get it. But no, that's stuck. And yeah, I'm an engineer by day and I coach in my spare time. I currently living in Doha, in Qatar.
Nice. For how long have you been here in Doha?
I've been here now 4 years. Actually, 2 weeks ago was my 4-year anniversary in Qatar, and it feels like it was yesterday when I first flew out here. But as I'm so busy, time flies. It really goes so quick.
It is, isn't it? Crazy. What is the reason that brought you to Doha?
It's an interesting one, really, because it was never sort of a place that I'd considered. In my company, were trying to get me to work on one of their projects, which was related to the World Cup. But that contract wasn't renewed. But I'd already set my heart on coming to Qatar, having left Istanbul to go back to London. So had I been on that project, I would have been here on the World Cup project. But they sent me out to work at the airport on one of their big projects there. So that was what sent me out here, was my company requesting me to transfer here, and I did. And 1 year into my airport experience, I was approached to join the World Cup project for another company, and the rest is history, yeah.
Okay, and this is what you're doing until today, right?
Yeah, working on the stadiums, which is extremely exciting. It's always been part of my plan. It's not how I expected it to go, but I'm still on track, working on a World Cup project. Major event.
I can imagine, super exciting. I mean, being a football fan myself, it's to imagine building stadiums for thousands of people to come and enjoy a World Cup. That in itself sounds super exciting. But I want to touch base on this later. How are you experiencing the current situation? I mean, we're in Doha. I think we're quite well prepared from what has been done so far regarding the coronavirus, COVID-19. Many people working from home, including the two of us. So how do you build stadiums from home?
That's an interesting one. Unfortunately, you can't build a stadium from home. But being on the project management side, I think we can continue business as usual through our email system, through all the video conferencing systems, etc. We can still conduct meetings and keep the coordination going for the people on the ground. It's been challenging. I think our client and our team have adapted very quickly. And I think the country itself has adapted very quickly to the whole situation. And everybody seems to be following all the guidance set out by the Ministry of Public Health, which is very good, actually. Being a small community of about 2 million people, it's easier probably to adopt certain things than in, let's say, Europe or the UK, where you have 78 plus million population. So it's much more difficult to manage.
What do you feel were the biggest challenges now working from home? How do you see that?
Well, to be honest, I'm a people person. So I am very big on, meeting people, talking to them, solving issues by doing sketches by hand. And those things are sort of very quick 5-minute discussions that can solve 2 weeks of work issues. So you can't really do that. It's not as flexible. You need to rely on everybody being, familiar with technology and stuff. And sometimes that's not the case. So it's tough, but not impossible.
But I think this time maybe we will learn how to deal maybe in a more digital way with each other if necessary. And I can imagine, like, I see it for us in JP that we are really learning a lot. We need to. You're kind of forced to learn a lot during special times like that. And I can imagine that as a team, you get closer together. You need to, even more, you need to have each other's back. And I feel like it's unfortunate that it sometimes takes maybe, I don't know, a virus or a pandemic to kind of get to know that. But I can imagine that many companies learn from that.
Yeah, it's a massive learning curve. I think working from home, so my previous company was very big about sort of flexible working. I think that's a big thing in Europe generally. It was a consulting firm, and working from home was not an unfamiliar thing for me. So it's very basic, and this was from about 7-8 years back. I think for some of the companies, let's say in this part of the region, it's not something that they've embraced previously. So we are, let's say, learning as we go along, and I think it's a learning curve. I think where trust is a big issue. I think trust generally, working from home, there's this big taboo of, out of sight, they're not doing anything, sort of thing. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. So if I don't see them sitting down at their desk, they're probably not doing anything. But to be honest, I get so much more work done at home than I do probably in the office because of the amount of people that keep coming and asking you questions, etc.
That's something I definitely have experienced as well. Much less distraction.
Productivity is higher, yeah.
Which is scary, right? Because I mean, everyone, you're paying rent at the office, and everyone is kind of meant to be there. And then I don't want to say we are more productive at home, because there are just also many challenges that in terms of distraction that are happening at home, and getting yourself motivated to pull through is still a challenge, I believe. But yes, less distraction because of these. But you were talking about 5 minutes conversation. I mean, they happen 10 to 20 times a day, which can also make your day.
Yeah, 100%. That is true. I think both have their positives and negatives. It's just how you apply them, really.
But I think you definitely, like in my case, I definitely save around an hour, 1.5 commuting time, which is nice. That you can, I don't know, use to work out or learn something or put in work as well. That's quite positive, I think.
I live only 15 minutes away, so...
Yeah, okay. Not a big bonus for you then.
Exactly.
Hatim, I know that you are working on a podcast yourself. What is this about? What is your experience so far? How did you come up with that idea?
I think the whole podcast thing was something that I've been thinking about for a while. I think it stems from my recent experiences in life. So I've been through some tough times in my own life, and I thought every time I go back to the UK, I get asked certain questions which obviously people don't know the answers to unless they ask the question. So I sort of had a breakup, a marriage breakup. So everybody keeps asking, yeah, how's your marriage going? How's your wife going? And they just don't know, essentially. So when you have the question 100 times, it's sort of like, you know what? I'm just gonna
podcast it out there.
I'm gonna podcast it. I mean, it's not. I don't know if that's the right or wrong thing to do, but I think the whole idea was it wasn't just about that, but mental health is a major thing. So when you go through a tough experience, whether it's your parents breaking up or you going through a breakup or losing your job or XYZ, you look at some of the athletes and footballers once they retire or if they get injured, they have big issues, not being able to do what they love. So the whole idea of the podcast, and I'm sort of linking up with somebody that I met in Doha. She's a self-worth coach, sort of like a life coach as well. Her name's Anahi, the self-worth coach. And we got talking, and we thought it would be great to put a podcast together to talk about the general issues that we face in life, especially as millennials, let's say older millennials, growing up being born in the 80s, etc. So sort of going through a journey with people, talking about our trials and tribulations on a daily basis.
I think that's super. I mean, it's great for you to have the courage and talk about that, and from her side as well. I hope and I think you will inspire many people to. I don't know. It's always when you experience a negative situation, you tend to go inside, not out and not public with it. And I can imagine that you will help a lot of people with that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of helping me as well, because I have sort of growing up, I sort of deal with my issues myself. I don't talk to friends, I don't talk to family. I sort of get by. And on this occasion, it was one of the issues that I had to have spoken to somebody about. So I did. I went through. I spoke to a psychologist, et cetera, and I went through the whole process. And it's just about sharing that with the kids of today and the parents of today, and the parents of the parents of today as well, and just sharing our experiences.
Going through that process, what would you say was the greatest takeaway for you to share your thoughts on that topic?
In terms of the podcast?
No, for you personally, like sharing this with different people, what you haven't done before. You said, what is your greatest takeaway?
The greatest takeaway is that it's a massive stress reliever, really, is just to hold that burden of an issue with you without sharing it with anyone. Whether it's just your closest circle of friends or, I mean, the whole idea of the podcast is that it was just for the immediate followers and friends that we have on our social media. We don't know how far it's going to reach, but it helps you put life into perspective, and it's really sort of helped me recover mentally and get to where I was maybe 5 years ago. Yeah.
And I think it's a super strong position to start from what you just said. It's for our friends and closest circle first, which makes it very, very personal. And whoever joins in and likes to listen and see some value in that is more than welcome.
For sure, yeah. And we hopefully will we'll share it. I mean, we're planning to release it on the 11th of April. I think that's a Saturday. Our first episode, and we'll see where it goes from there. Hopefully, we'll have our own Netflix show at some point.
I wish you all the best for that.
Thanks a lot.
Amazing. But beside that, I mean, you're busy. You work. You have obviously a full-time job, building a couple of stadiums. You do a podcast yourself. You are a swim coach. You run a football team. Maybe about the football team. This is something that I've visited twice, unfortunately only twice, but at least I had the chance to come and see the guys. And I know it's a project that is very dear to you.
I hope you enjoyed the experience of sharing.
Honestly, when I visit a football match, no matter who is playing, I'm always passionate about it. And usually I have a tendency to root for the underdog. And I mean, you will tell us a bit more about the project now, but it is really not very difficult to be passionate about what you do, even from an outsider point of view. So what is HATS SC about?
SC or HSC Doha, as it's called. I mean, I really had to come up with a name pretty quickly. So it all started back with my swimming coaching. So I've been a swimming coach for about 15 years. And then coming to Qatar, I tried to continue that journey, but there were too many sort of obstacles, let's say, too many, or too little opportunities, unlike in the UK. So I wasn't able to continue that coaching journey, which is my passion, basically. Coaching is my passion. That's what keeps me alive. So I went for a year or two without it. And, one of the guys on our construction site was, from Ghana. He was chatting to me about the African Cup of Nations, a year or so back. And, obviously he knew I was originally Egyptian, although I was born and brought up in the United Kingdom. We started talking about the Egyptian national team and how bad they were. And we were sort of talking about the Ghanaian national team and how bad they were. Not the same teams they used to be. And, I asked him if he played football or if he liked playing football. And he expressed his passion for the game and said that we don't really have an opportunity here to compete. And at the same time, I knew that the Supreme Committee for the World Cup have a community outreach program, and I've set up the Qatar Community Football League. And they were looking at introducing a third division. They're now one Premier Division and at the time 2 divisions, and introducing a third one. And they were looking for teams, and I thought, what better way to get back into coaching, but also set up a program for the guys that don't have an opportunity to play. And that's where it all started, yeah.
Okay. And who is playing for your team now? How did you recruit them? You said coaching is what keeps you alive. But where did this all start?
So this guy who's now sort of like my right hand man, his name is Michael Turkson. So big shout out to Michael Turkson, just in case he listens in. He's part of, let's say, the office admin team. They sort of oversee the cleaning and the daily routine of the office. One of the companies here in Qatar. He set up a WhatsApp group. I said to him, "You sure we need to get people together within the next 10 days because that's when the deadline is." And I said, "You sure we can be able to get somebody in?"
So you had 10 days in the transfer window was 10 days open.
Yeah, 10 days. And yeah, basically within 2 days, I had about 40 people in a WhatsApp group and I'd already had my first team meeting.
Wow.
Which obviously was an interesting team meeting. It took us a while to meet up. It took us about an hour and a half to get to the meeting point because of various logistical issues, let's say. But the first discussion we had was, guys, this is not a professional football team. This is an amateur football team. And please don't ask me about wages and please don't ask me about getting famous and stuff like that. We have to understand what we're doing. It's a community project. And the late arrivals, the first question for them was, after we had that discussion, was, I said, "Anybody got a question?" They put their hands up and said, "Oh, you know, I'm here in Qatar and I want to play professional football." And I looked at the other guys and laughed and said, "See, this is what happens when you come late." You know? Okay. But yeah, it was very quick. It was very quick.
So, and now you're playing in a league. I mean, visited twice. I think you're top of the table. Maybe not anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, we're actually, until the suspension of the league, obviously due to the whole Corona outbreak, we were top of the league. The last game before the suspension, we drew, and the team that was also top on points won. So we're now second by 2 points with 2 games left to go of the season. So as things stand, if everything was to stop, we're second. There was a chance for us to win the league with the next 2 games to go, but there is also a chance for us to come third if nothing goes to plan. So first season is going very well. We've had our ups and downs, and it's been exciting. It's been really exciting. I have to admit, I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far.
What were ups and what were downs, and tell us a bit more how you dealt with them.
The ups are sort of the exciting parts of football when you're sort of losing a game and you come back and win in the last 2 minutes of the game, you know, with the last kick of the game. Those are sort of the exciting moments. The downs are when you're sort of playing a team at the bottom of the league, and you know it's a straightforward, or it should be a straightforward win. Nothing is straightforward in football, of course. And you end up drawing like 3-3 or something when you're 3-1 up, you know, and again, the last kick of the game. And it's those 2 points that you lose when you should be expecting, and they affect the outcome of the season. So it's just like watching it on TV, really. I mean, I also had an option. I could be sat at home playing these football manager games, or I could be doing it in real life myself to see it. It's not easy managing 11 to 22 grown men who all have an opinion about football. But that's part of coaching, you know, is trying to instill some values, a mission, and see where it goes from there.
And I think what you just said, super important. You could have managed like a sort of, I don't know, Liverpool on your PlayStation, but to go out and manage up to 20 people who have, like you said, maybe very little opportunity to engage otherwise in sports here in Qatar, to come together and have that feeling of being a team, belonging to something. I think that's much greater than just, building a team and winning the league. What on a micro level that means to those guys, and losing together, winning together, going home after a heavy defeat and trying to figure it out. I think that's major.
Yeah, I think it has been fun so far, but it has had its challenges in terms of as well as I'm sort of self-funding the project. And the guys are sort of on, I don't know how to refer to it, but let's say they're on minimum wage, okay? As we would refer to it back in Europe, they're on minimum wage. So this is not easy for them from a financial perspective. So the whole idea for me was to cover everything myself. So all they had to do was get to the games and play. The funding of the training pitches, the equipment, the team kit, the referee costs every week, etc. That and the water costs, let's say, that's all covered by me. And sometimes it became a financial burden. So we reached out to a few friends, and they managed to support us, including yourself. You helped us with our team logo, which is probably one of the best logos in the whole league.
Yeah. I mean, more than happy to help with our design work. And yeah, I mean, at this point, maybe as well, anyone who, I mean, that's not only good fun, that's also a good cause to kind of support these guys, and anyone who is, I don't know, in the position to sponsor and to step up and contribute. Maybe for next year when the league starts again, I can only highly encourage everyone to be a part of that and join the games, support the guys. And I mean, there's so much, like you said, logistics around that. Beside the match that need to be taken care of, the pitch, the referee, the kids, the whole organization, which you do beside all of the other tasks that you have. So well done. Really well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for your support so far.
Shifting from guys playing, I mean, trying maybe to play in those huge stadiums that you're building, to the actual task itself. I know of a few stories that you told me. I mean, we've known each other for, I think since I literally arrived in Qatar 2.5 years ago. I know you're working on stadiums, and the stories and the kind of considerations that you need to make sometimes are unbelievable. And for someone who's just doing a bit of business consulting and marketing and has his head somewhere else, it's mind-blowing. So how is it to build a World Cup stadium, Hatim?
It's mind-blowing. Trust me.
I can imagine.
It's definitely mind-blowing. There are so many things, at stake. So many different stakeholders. It's unbelievable. I can't begin to explain to you the number of people that are involved. It's not just the World Cup stadium. It's just delivering a World Cup for a country. It's a major event. It's like an Olympic Games, for example. So many different
in a country where football is basically the number one sport and what everyone cares about, especially after I wanted to say our win, because it really felt like our win last year in the Asian Cup. The country went, it was wild.
Yeah. This was, and I think this was a turning point for football in Qatar, really, because all the people that were involved in, let's say, backing the country, especially during the hard times. Obviously, Qatar is going through a blockade in the GCC with United Arab Emirates, and obviously the tournament being hosted in the United Arab Emirates. It was an amazing feeling. I think everybody who was here sort of got behind the country, and regardless of where you were from, you just felt part of that sort of, I wouldn't say struggle, but cause, or yeah.
Definitely.
And since then, it's just given us all an added boost to make sure that we deliver the best World Cup. And it's not going to be easy, because the Russia World Cup was a great World Cup. I mean, you don't appreciate the things that go on behind the scenes to deliver such a tournament.
What does go behind the scenes? Maybe you have a bit of a, I don't know, something that you can share with us.
I officially can't go into the details,
of course,
genuinely. But I think starting from, let's say, construction of a stadium. So I'm overseeing 3 stadiums. I've got sort of Lusail, Al Famama, and Ras Al Abu Stadium. And they're 3 totally different engineering projects. So the Lusail Stadium is the main stadium for the World Cup. That's an 80,000-seater stadium. Al Famama is a 40,000-seater stadium. It's got its own unique design. It's a standard build. And then you have the Ras Al Abu Stadium, which is a containerized stadium, basically predominantly built up of shipping containers, which will be dismantled at some point. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you call it? It's a contained stadium.
Yeah. You know how you have these box parks. pretty much going to be a massive box park. It's a stadium built up of containers, essentially.
Interesting. Wow. And the Lusail Day will be the one that hosts the opening match and the final match, correct?
Yeah, opening match, final match, and the opening closing ceremony. And I mean, I'd like to say a stadium is a stadium at the end of the day, but it's all the different factors that make it the stadium of the opening closing ceremony that has its challenges, because you have to think about how it will be operated later, the logistics behind all these different teams going to be coming in to deliver, let's say, a ceremony, etc., etc. There's all the FIFA requirements that have to be considered. And then there's the local requirements that have to be considered too. So you have to sort of react to all of these different things to bring everybody together and deliver the final product.
Deliver amazing, how we say.
Yeah, that's the plan, to deliver amazing. But no, I mean, there's also sort of, as this is the first time something like this has been delivered in the Middle East, is again a massive learning curve for a lot of the teams delivering these projects. So you have local contractors, you have international consultants, and everybody's learning. And there's this massive, the good thing that I've found so far is that everybody's willing to learn, you know. In engineering and construction, there tends to be the contractors that are delivering construction projects always pushing back and fighting for their contractual rights, etc. But although that's happening, of course, but there's a massive willingness to learn and develop. And such major projects, these are, regardless of the World Cup, these are the biggest projects that any contractor can deliver. For a country like Qatar, it's a massive experience that they're going to leave with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, beside the size of the project and all its challenges and technicalities, it's an honor to be involved in such a project. And I think for each and every employee, contractor, whatsoever, to be able to work on a stadium, I can imagine that feels pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, you kind of get engrossed and you forget that you're involved in such a project. And regardless of whether you're involved in this World Cup project directly on the stadiums or not, the fact that you're in Qatar at this time, everybody is playing a part, whether directly or indirectly, you know, everybody, because somehow you're affecting somebody or working with somebody that will have a connection with the World Cup. And to say that you were working here during the years leading up to the World Cup, for everybody is something that they should be proud of, yeah, and definitely have it on their CV and, you know, be happy that it's there.
Can you share with us maybe the one top story in building a stadium, what you said, and this is something how we needed to deal with that challenge and that was completely unheard of? I
mean, generally with stadiums, it's the challenges, I think from an engineering perspective, one of the biggest challenges that we've had so far on one of the World Cup stadiums is the Ras Al Ababoud project, because it's a containerized system and it's never been done before on such a scale.
Why is it that, if I may ask? Why did they choose to do it in that way?
I think it's all down to sort of their sustainability strategy. You know, they don't want to, such structures, permanent structures, end up having no legacy. In many cases in countries around the world, they'll have massive stadia that are built for 1 month and never used again. So part of the legacy strategy for the World Cup has been to put something in place which can benefit others at a later point. I mean, that was seen in the London 2012 Olympic Games. As part of the major strategy was the regeneration of East London, for example, and ensuring that all the different facilities that could benefit the people after the event of the area remained in place. And for any other facilities that were not going to benefit anybody, they would be sort of temporary facilities that would be removed later. And this is an example of one of those facilities. It's a temporary facility for the World Cup. And then it would be, and the plan is to then move it on to another place for another event at some point, whether it's in Qatar or outside of Qatar. Again, a lot of these are being led by the SC, so not by myself and my team, my company specifically. So, you know, they have more details on that, but those kind of challenges in, for example, making sure that it can be assembled and then reassembled later on, are something that provide challenges. Obviously, you need to ensure that it can be done, because whoever picks up the project in 2 years, 3 years time don't want to be having these questions scratching their head, you know. And then there's also the other things that, you know, meeting certain compliances for FIFA, making sure that the screens, for example, are the right size, the right distance, are visible. There are so many intricacies from an architectural and engineering perspective to make sure that this can happen. And it takes a lot of hours sitting down with colleagues and contractors and clients to make sure that these can be realized. So, without going into too much detail, essentially.
Yeah. I see. I mean, I could listen, and I'm sure everyone else who's maybe joining in, we could listen to that. I mean, so much longer, because it's football. Many people are passionate about football, about stadiums, and I don't get very often to speak to someone who are building those stadiums and get like a first row seat in how that's being done. So thanks.
My biggest excitement, Marco, is just I can't wait for the day that we can sort of, or I can, maybe you can't, I can stand on a freshly laid football pitch, you know, testing the sound and light systems.
I think you should be able to provide me a ticket for that as well.
I will try my best, but you know, it's such an exciting time.
It must be amazing handing this over and I don't know, hearing the sound, and like you said, even getting the first match in there and being played, and having tens of thousands of people experiencing how it feels like.
And you saw in Al Bakra Stadium, for example, or Al Janoub as it's now called. Yeah, for the Amir Cup final, it was the inauguration of that stadium. And you saw, I don't know if you felt it, but I felt it. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up, you know, when that ceremony was going. It just felt great, you know. And for that to happen in one of the stadium projects I'm working on at some point, it's just going to be even better, I think.
I can imagine. Hatim, thank you for your time, for joining us in here. And although we need to work around with laptop and online meeting, I think we learned quite a lot today. So many exciting points on what you're doing and how you're influencing, how you help people with your podcast, with how you're involved in HSC Doha and the guys who get an opportunity to play football. I want to finish off with one thing, which is we'll ask you a couple of quick questions, and I want you to reply with the first thought that comes to your mind. Very simple questions that we'll do at the end of an episode right now. Okay?
Okay.
Favorite dish?
Good. Kushari. Egyptian dish.
Nice. Favorite football club?
West Ham United.
Favorite country that you haven't visited so far?
Canada, I would say.
Okay. Favorite sports overall?
Swimming.
Okay. That was good. Well done. Well done on that. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us again, and take care.
Thanks, Marco. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, I hope you liked that video. Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please give the video a like, subscribe to our channel for more interesting and inspiring content. Comment down below what you would like us to post. Don't miss out on any of our videos by turning on the notifications on our channel. Somewhere here, I guess. You can find all our social media links in the description below. Make sure to keep yourself updated with our content. See you in the next video.